Girls versus Ghouls. Hello and welcome. This is Girls vs. Ghouls, episode 2. Hello, everybody.
Why did you
hi.
get so southern?
Hello, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Hello, governor.
Damn, Dolly.
All right, I'm gonna do that again.
No.
All right, so 2. I'm here again, joined by my sisters Allison and Madeline. Hello, girls.
Hi.
Hi.
Sup, bitches.
All right, so tonight we're going to be really doing our first official true episode. Last week was, our introductory episode. We got to talk about ourselves, talk about our experiences. And by that, I mean their experiences and me listening to their experiences and processing them. So this week, we're going to do our official episode format. So what that means is that every week we're going to be picking a location, a topic to talk about. And each week we're going to take turns picking one. And so the first week, Allison got to pick the topic. And so since she got to pick it, I think she gets to introduce it. Allison, what is our topic this week?
I honestly forgot the name of the house.
Oh,
Don't clock
The
me.
Whaley House.
The Whaley House. Thank you. I'm sorry. Don't clock me. I said the Whaley House in Old Town San Diego. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I put you on the spot there. It's not entirely your fault.
I wasn't ready.
Okay, the Whaley House in San Diego, Old Town San Diego. What made you think of the Whaley House? Have you ever? You never been there, right? Have you driven by?
A lot of people have told me about it.
People who have gone themselves.
I don't know if it's necessarily that they've gone themselves, but it's just really well known in San Diego as one of the little haunted hotspots.
How
And
come
we
we've never
suggested
been
it.
there?
Yeah, I've never been there. Oh, actually, I found out it's like a field trip people take out here in San
We've
Diego.
never
when
done
they're
that.
kids. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, we didn't go to
Where do-
school in San Diego.
Yeah, but in San Diego, apparently a place that they go is Old Town, and they walk by the house. They tell them about it. I don't know if I would want to go there when I'm a little kid, but
Yeah.
to each their own.
Yeah,
San
school's
Diego
taking
universe.
kids to a haunted house and letting the curse rub off on them and take it home. Not ideal.
But yeah, that's how I found out about it. And then when I Googled places in San Diego, that was one of the most it came up.
Yeah, the opportunity to look up the Whaley House is really interesting because I had no idea this was in San Diego. I haven't, honestly, shame to admit, I haven't really spent much time in Old Town, but this will be our opportunity. Where, we'll get to go there sometime and actually go to the Whaley House.
Hopefully soon. Probably not this month, but next month. Yeah, there's a lot of places in Old Town San Diego. It's old.
The Whaley House
But-
in particular is one of those world-renowned known haunted locations, from what I
Yeah.
could tell. Okay, so now we get to explore the Whaley House. So the usual episode format, as we're beginning today and moving with henceforth, the three of us are each going to dive into one aspect of each location or topic that we're going to discuss on this podcast. We're going to talk about the history of these locations. We're going to talk about the reported sightings and hauntings at these locations. And then we're also going to talk about theories about what is going on and what some of the, previous investigations perhaps have been and what their findings have been, and then have free discussion about what we think about all of this. So to start, we're going to go over the history of the Whaley House in Old Town San Diego. And that's going to be given to us by Madeline, who did some research on this.
That I did. A good amount of
6
it.
hours worth.
No,
Yeah,
more
6
than
hours.
that. That was just day one.
Oh,
But
dang.
either way, I think I'm gonna start by talking about Thomas Whaley.
Sir Thomas.
Yeah, Sir Thomas. So Thomas Whaley was born in New York City on October 5th of 1923. Now, I'm not sure about this because, it was a while ago. He was either the third or the seventh child of his parents. They had 10 children in total. That's a lot. His parents'
Yeah.
name were Thomas Alexander Whaley and Rachel Pye Whaley.
Oh, pie.
Pye or Pay, Pye.
Rachel Pie.
How adorable.
He comes from a long line of tradesmen. I was curious, but because like you'll learn later, he went to like the Washington Institute. I was like, where'd he get the money to go there? So I looked up his family history a bit. And he comes from a long line on his father's side of like gunsmiths, blacksmiths, locksmiths, so like a lot of smithing going on. So tradesmen. So explains where they got some money. His great grandfather Alexander Whaley has interesting history because he participated in the Boston Tea Party, and as well was with George Washington during the Battle of White Plains. He also provided flintstock muskets for the Revolutionary War, and his house in Long Island served as General Washington's headquarters while he was in Long Island. So a
That
lot
is
going
quite
on
the-
there.
Yeah, the family had quite an illustrious history.
Yeah, and then Alexander Whaley's son, so like his Thomas Whaley's great grandfather, he served. He was also a gunsmith, and he served in the War of 1812. So also a lot of servicemen in the family. I don't think Thomas Whaley ever like actually served though.
It doesn't seem
Big-
like it. It seemed like he was pretty much a businessman his
Yeah,
whole
he
life.
did a lot of businessing. I think I couldn't find exactly what he studied, but based on his the line of work he went into, I assume business of some sort. Anyway, Thomas Whaley, like I said, attended the Washington Institute, and then after that, not sure how long, he traveled in Europe with a tutor apparently. So that's interesting. Sounds like fun, I guess. After college, trip around Europe, he got to live it. He began working in a shipping office in New York City after that for a man named George Wardle. And I guess they had a pretty good relationship. He would later name his son George after this man. So
Damn.
they always had a pretty good relationship throughout their lives, it seems. Once the gold rush started in 1848 in California, people, started making their way over there, which is what brought Thomas Whaley over into California, or to California in the first place, originally to San Francisco. On January 1st of 1849, he set off with his employer, George, to San Francisco on the Sutton. And this would be the first time someone would make this trip. So they were like the pioneers of this particular route to get around the lower half of America up to California.
During the gold rush.
Yeah. They arrived. They had a lot of trouble on their way there. Okay, a few times. It was an older ship apparently. They had to like stop for a couple weeks here and there for repairs. But they eventually made it by July 22nd.
Yeah, took them forever.
Took them a few months. Yeah, it took them about a little over 7 months to get there.
I would die.
There's a book.
Wait, real quick. Can you imagine Al in some rickety like steamboat that has to keep stopping for repairs, doing some like maiden voyage to an unknown route?
This is like Oregon. This is
For
like
7
Oregon
months.
Trails, and I got the snake card, and I just got bit.
She would have had typhoid within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, no one else would have gotten typhoid. They'd all be confused, but Allison would be dead of it.
Here's the thing. They're taking the boat to avoid the typhoid and all the Oregon Trail nonsense. Except they're not going to Oregon. They're going to California.
Like, we're gonna avoid that. We're gonna go by boat.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know what game we're playing, but I'm playing Boat Trail then, because
Yeah.
I pulled the wrong card. I'm not playing that game.
The worst we could get is scurvy.
There's a book about the voyage. Apparently it has like records of the voyage written by Thomas Whaley, like his journal and some letters. It's called Consignments to El Dorado. Yeah, I did not know that. So if you're interested in like the full story of that journey, you can always look it up.
The Consignments of El Dorado.
Yeah, a record of the voyage of the Sutton by Thomas Whaley, edited by June Allen Reading. And it was released in 1973. It also, I believe, has a collection of like other people who took the trip later, just people who took what I believe was called the Panama route.
Oh, okay. Yes, they went all the way down through South America and looped, or Mesoamerica, and looped all the way around to go to San Francisco.
Yeah.
All right. So, how was their business ventures when they went to San Francisco?
Thomas Whaley did pretty well over and up until 1951, that is, because he owned a series of properties. He began, just he was doing well. But after in 1951, his stores and his other properties were burned down from arson.
Arson? Were they
Arson.
like competitors? Do
I
we know much
I
about
don't
who burned
know.
stuff down?
Honestly, it's hard to find a lot of information about, like, when you look up Thomas Whaley, you get predominantly like San Diego Whaley House information. It's not a lot
Yeah.
of information about like what they were doing in San Francisco and stuff, or before when he lived in New York. Just
Yeah,
tidbits.
I guess it just sounds pretty intense. Makes you wonder if he had a lot of
Yeah.
enemies or something.
At one point I was like, I want, because like, I don't know, I was like, maybe at the time, like 1800s, there was a lot of insurance scams going on. And I was like, if all his properties, like, apparently a lot, like, I don't know if all of them, but a lot of them were targeted. So either it was arson or he just got a good insurance payout.
Do we know if he did get a
I
good
couldn't
insurance
find
payout?
it. I don't know if he had insurance.
What if that's how he paid for the Whaley House?
Because, yeah, because then after, I
If
guess
ill-begotten.
before then he had a friend named Lewis who was like doing some merchanting down in San Diego, and he told, like, I guess, it was an up and coming town, but I guess at that time it was still it was pretty shitty there. It was
In
not
San
a
Diego?
great place. Yeah, San Diego, it was a time where it was a little shitty. They're like, this place is kind of a dump. It was early San Diego. I'll tell you about it in a minute. But so they're there. He's, fire. He's sad, and his friends like, "Yo, San Diego,
It's
come
either
down
sad or
here."
I'm rich.
One of those two. I don't know. But his friends like, come down to San Diego. So he did, and this Louis A. Franklin becomes his business partner, and they open the Tiedra, California, which I guess means California store. As well, he's also had a series of other successful business ventures in San Diego throughout the time that he lived there. He owned a brick making, like, masonry, made bricks that he used later to build his house.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Cut on cost.
Eventually, after living in San Diego for a few years, he saved enough money. He was able to go back to New York and marry Eloise Delany, his apparent beloved, long beloved. I was kind of like, I read one thing that said that they were like childhood sweethearts, but I was like,
Yeah, I
no,
heard that they were like quote unquote high school sweethearts or
doesn't
something.
make
Is that true?
sense. No, it doesn't make sense. Impossible, because he was
They wouldn't have known each other.
almost 10 years older than her. Like, by the time he was in high school, she was like 9 years old.
Yeah, unless our boy got held back. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't know how they could have been, unless something a little weird was going on. I mean, people back then were marrying their cousins, and who knows what like relationships were like, but I don't know how long they were infatuated with one another, because by the time he went to like
girl.
by the time he went to college and stuff, she was like 12. Assumably by the time he was like that age to go to college and start doing his life, she was like that old. So I'm like, how could they have been childhood sweethearts? I don't know.
Okay.
It doesn't make
it
sense.
seems like one of those stories that are apocryphally told to somehow add flavor to a story. But yeah, I guess that makes it really unlikely they would have been that close.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know when they met, but yeah, I don't think that they were childhood sweethearts, or maybe, I don't know. Okay, anyway. They get married on August 14th of 1853. Also, this was mentioned, I don't know why it's important, but it said that Anna was of pure French extraction, so she's French as fuck, just so you know. That I don't know why it's important, but maybe it was cool in the 1850s to be really French. They're like walking around like, oh, and people are like, wow, look at them, so French. I don't know.
Bien.
Yeah, they're like, wow, I want to be that French, but I just can't. I don't know. Anyway. That same year, after getting married, they returned to San Diego. He brought his bride back with him, and they began having their little kiddos. Francis, their firstborn, on December 28th of 1854. They had their second, Thomas Jr., on August 18th of 1856, and their daughter Anna on June 27th, 1858, and she would be the first to be born in the Whaley House.
Okay.
Yeah, the other two were not. The house wasn't finished being built till 1857, so the other two were not born. I don't know where they were living before they lived in the Whaley House, but they were living obviously somewhere around there, popping babies out and building homes. We're done. They
Yeah.
are in San Diego now. The family of legend are there. Let's talk about the property of legend now. Before Tomless, I see King. I keep saying Tomless. Thomas
Are you
Whaley.
thinking of like Tomlin from
I don't know.
Witch
I'm
in the
thinking of
Wardrobe?
nothing,
Sir
Joel.
Tomlin or
Nothing is
whatever.
making sense. No, it's Sir
No, his name was
Tommen.
Tomness.
It's Tommen. Sir Tommen. Of the you talking about the goat?
What?
I
The
don't know.
satyr?
Yeah.
Yeah, the satyr boy.
Sir, it was like Sir Tumnus or something.
Called me a satyr boy. I said to you later, boy.
Oh God. Anyway, before Thomas Whaley bought the plot of land that would later become so infamous, it was the site of the town gallows, where one of the town's most infamous public executions took place. The execution of James Yankee Jim Robinson.
Yankee Jim.
You want to hear a little bit about this? It's pretty interesting. I would, if
I
I
do.
was James, I don't know, I would haunt this property too.
I want to know everything about a man named Yankee Jim.
Yeah, you want to hear about I was also curious about why Yankee, and it makes sense. I can tell you. Apparently, at the
From New
time, at the time, there, you know how at one point, Australia was a penal colony for Europe, for England, right?
Yeah.
So during the gold rush, there were merchants coming from Australia, and they would also bring some of the, you know, people who were sent there for the purpose of stealing. You know, they were criminals, supposedly, you know. And so they were coming over into California in the States, and they were known as what they were as Sydney Ducks, and that was like a slang, like, you know, you don't want to be called that. Like they said, and it was eventually like, it was like a term, like it's better to be a Yankee than a Sydney Duck. So he is Yankee Jim because he was accused of being a Sydney Duck. He's like, no, I'm a Yankee, because I guess he probably had like a British accent. So they're like, you don't belong here. You're probably one of them Australians. And he's like, no, I'm just a British motherfucker. Don't judge me.
He's like, no, I'm just from New England.
Yeah, basically. So there you go.
Okay, so we tried to stay incognito about his. So was he initially sent to Australia because of being a prisoner, or he was just born there?
I don't know. See, I couldn't even find if he was actually from Australia or not. Like if, you know, people he just went by Yankee Jim just so people wouldn't assume he was a Sydney Duck. So I read that he was a French Canadian. So I think he was.
Oh, okay.
So either way.
Okay, so he may not have actually been from Australia, but the association is important to know because you want to avoid being called.
Yeah, like you didn't want to be known as a Sydney Duck. Like they like that, you know, is bad.
Okay, and that's how he got the nickname Yankee Jim.
Yeah, because he was like, no, I'm a Yankee. I'm not no Sydney Duck. Like, don't call me that. Call me Yankee Jim. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
basically. So did you know, Joel, you lived in Northern California. You know of Placer County? Have you heard of that?
Placer County? Oh yeah, I know
Yeah.
Placer County.
Have you heard of Yankee Jim's in Placer County?
No.
That is a town named after Yankee Jim.
What?
Yes, I didn't.
There's a town named after Yankee Jim in Placer County?
Yes,
That's
he
amazing.
is a location where he in the 1840s found gold, and he kept it to himself. He was like, "This is my gold." So he was sneaking around in the area finding gold, but eventually people started, because he's a tall man, he stands out. People are like, "This is
Wait, real quick. I don't understand this. From what I read, he was
6'4". Yeah,
which for that time also
very
really
tall. Average height at that time was 5'5" for a man.
Holy cow, he was
He was a
tall.
giant. Yeah. Apparently well built too. He's a prospector, so he's digging all day. He's probably a very intimidating man. But so anyway, he's
finding
going
all the gold.
Yeah, he's going around. People eventually they like catch up and they like see where he's going and they follow him. And eventually that leads to a town being built in that area. And also there's a bridge named after him that leads to the town. But I guess the gold miners that had followed him also found a skeleton of a man and a horse that had been shot nearby, which is why he was pegged as being a possible murderer.
Oh, like maybe fighting over turf where the gold
Yeah,
was.
like if this guy rolled up and was like, I'm gonna get this gold, and then he was like, nah, and shot him and his horse at their campsite. And so
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
not
there's no
unheard of.
proof obviously that he did it, but given the proximity and stuff, there's a good likelihood. He was also known for possibly thieving and like doing a lot of like robbing people in general. He did a lot of that, so he was well known for not being a good character.
Damn, Yankee Jim.
Yeah. So
Wait, why would they name their town after him?
because he found it. Some guy asked that. I watched a video and he was like, if he was such a bad guy, why would they name the town after him? And I'm like, dude, I don't know why they named a town after him. Either way, but he was apparently a bad guy. Everything else says he was not the best.
I mean, this is America where we name our streets and cities and stuff after race as fuck. So doesn't surprise me.
Like, I just like, here's our town. Oh yeah, there's that guy. We think he shot that guy and his horse.
I will name this town
henceforth. This is Yankee Jimville.
He shot that horse. We name it Yankee Jim.
Animal cruelty is his Yankee Jim.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe just the fact that he was massive. They're like, that's impressive.
I'm gonna name this fucking place Yankee Jim.
We're gonna name this town after him.
I'm gonna be honest, the name's cool.
Actually, yeah. I wonder, like, when was that incorporated as Yankee Jim? If maybe after the fact, it's like he's kind of a legend from San Diego.
It became a official town, I believe, in 1858. So it was after he was already dead. Yes. So
I still think it's really interesting.
So after he was dead, so I wonder who petitioned for it.
I have no idea. I mean, no, it could just be like, this is what they call it, and then eventually it's like, this is what it's called.
Like, what is it called? Yankee Jimville? Like,
it's called Yankee Jims with an S at the end, no apostrophe.
Yankee Jims. This is it's old stomping grounds.
Yeah,
it sounds like a Subway franchise
or like a bar. Yeah.
Do you want to?
Okay.
Okay. After his little spot was discovered, he made his way down to San Diego. And he got down there and people had already picked up some, they're like, oh, it's that guy, Yankee Jim. I guess there was a guy who was known as a character of, like, he was a good sorts of character. They could trust his word. And he said that, like, he's known for, he might have killed some people. He's not a good guy. They're like, so they,
our truth person said this.
Yeah, they're like, they're the guy who knows stuff, I guess. He was like, he's a good guy. It's fine. So he got down there, they're doing stuff, and they basically were told, like, as long as you don't do anything, we're not gonna do anything to you, right? But he gets caught stealing a boat with two other guys, right?
So they're like, okay. So they warned him ahead of time. They went up to this guy like, hey, Yankee Jim, we're on to you. We know what you're about. We heard what happened up north. But if you don't try anything, we won't mess with you. And Yankee Jim was like, yeah, fine.
That's a mighty fine boat.
Yeah.
Basically. I think they were going to try to take it to head down to Southern California.
Damn, Yankee Jim.
Yankee Jim, why?
I mean, he's on a roll. Keep going,
Dude, he doesn't care. He's like, I'm 6'4".
I'm broad. I'm ready. I'm gonna kill this horse. Yeah. Take this boat. Oh, damn, Yankee Jim. Really did.
You want to hear his sentencing? Because I found a newspaper, and it has what the judge said to him upon his sentencing. Judge Hayes addresses the prisoner as follows. You, James Robinson, have been tried by the jury of your countrymen selected by yourself for grand larceny and found guilty of the same, and the jury affixed of the punishment of death as penalty. You are now brought before the court to hear the final sentencing. To the court, do you have anything to say why the sentence should not be pronounced? It said a pause. Having none, the court order adjudged and decree that you, James Robinson, be taken to the jail of the county of San Diego and put in the custody of the sheriff of Nederland, there to be safely and securely kept until Saturday, the 18th day of September next. Between. These are like, what's the word? Restored records, so they can be a little typoed. Between the hours of 11:00 a.m. and 8 o'clock, you will be taken there thence by the sheriff of said county to the place of execution, and there will be hung by the neck until you are dead. And that's what he was told.
I really like to think that in that moment, like if anything, the judge was just disappointed. He's just a disappointed dad. Like, Yankee Jim, we told you.
Well,
We still
actually,
did
so
it.
here's the thing.
I mean, he didn't. I mean, Yankee Jim knew he did wrong. He didn't try to contest it. He's
Yes, but let me tell. Okay,
nothing to
so he got to choose. So he chose his juries, and he let the guy whom he stole the boat from be part of the jury. And he thought that because the boat was returned without damage, that he would take pity on him. And also, at the same time, there was a political climate thing going on. Like I said earlier, San Diego was kind of a trash hole. There was a lot of crime, and the sheriff and the local councilmen were like, we need to do something to show to people that we are very serious about not allowing this type of crime to happen anymore.
so hard on him.
They were really hard. Yeah, so they went harder on him because they were like, we need to make a statement.
Yeah, death penalty for stealing a boat. Oh my
Well,
god!
there's also the fact that he's a suspected murderer and stuff. That might have played a key, because the two men that he also were with that stole the boat, they only got a year in prison and they were released. They really only went
so
hard
they're
on
like-
Yankee Jim
yeah.
because he was infamous already.
I'm
Yeah,
interested to see how the story goes because I have information about Yankee Jim, like a very small part, and I'm wondering if this part's true. But so I'm really interested.
Let
to
me
see.
keep going. I'll tell
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Just real quick, I just want to say, yeah, that makes sense because when I initially had read that he got the death penalty for stealing a boat, I didn't also get that other context. So that makes it make a little bit more sense where they're thinking, hey, Yankee Jim, you're the 6'4" troublemaker. We don't want you around here. We're going to make an example of you.
Yeah. They also felt that like he kind of bullied the other two. Like he was the instigator and the other guys were just kind of going about what he said. So they also went more lenient on them, you know? All this. But at the same time, there was also the political climate, and that they did feel like they needed to make a statement because there was a lot of crime going on in the area at the time.
Understood. Yankee Jim was made an example of.
So
All
then
right.
on September the 18th, also he apparently up until like all the way till the end, he did not actually think that they were going to hang him. Yeah, so he thought that it was a joke. He was like, they're not going to do it. They're not going to hang me. And even as they like drug him out to the gallows, you know, he was kind of like, oh, you know, this is a joke still. Up until like the last minute, essentially, he like the last second, he really realized that it was not a joke. So the gallows in, yeah, it's kind of sad. You feel a little bad for him, but the gallows consisted of two beams in the ground with like one beam across the top. It's located. This newspaper was written in 1873. They were like redoing records, and so they were restoring stuff. And this guy wrote like about a very interesting thing that they found while restoring the records, which is why they have this information now. Very cool. So it was now located on where the Whaley House is. And so yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Talking about the gallows. Told you about he waited until like the last like minute to get like the priest to like, you know, be like, yo, your last rite, because he, you know, thought it was a joke. But I guess he did eventually do the last rite before he was taken out. I wasn't sure at first, but he did do that. Here, where is it? Okay, two Catholic priests accompanied him to the utmost convenience of him that his time was near. Oh yeah, the priest trying to convince him like, yo, you need to do your last rite, you're gonna die. It's in the news. Okay, to the wagon they attached a span of mules, and old Gustav Fischer was the driver that day. Good old Gustav. Upon reaching the gallows, the priest did his little priestly prayer, and the wagon was driven under the noose. The rope that they had and the noose in general was all not designed for a man of his stature. It was too short, and so it's pretty intense. I guess he I don't know how long he strangled for, but it says specifically for a long period of time because I guess apparently he kept like this is fucked up. So the sheriff guy was like, he asked him like, do you have any last words? And as he began to speak, he looked at his watch and like signaled to the driver to fucking go. like literally like,
Oh my God.
fucked up. So, and I guess like he kept his feet on the wagon for as long as possible, and his very last words that he said before he strangles was apparently, am I going to die?
Oh Jim.
Yeah, because he didn't believe it. He was like, "This isn't gonna happen." Then it was happening, and apparently he swung, quote, like a pendulum, and
Oh my god!
back and forth and strangled slowly. Apparently his feet could like just barely touch the ground on the tippy toes, which probably made it take longer. I mean,
Because he was so tall.
yeah. So I guess, if you don't know, it takes at least like 4.5 minutes to strangle somebody to make them pass
Jesus
out.
I did not know
So
that.
yeah,
Oh,
so he's
God.
sitting there strangling for at least that long before he finally passes out. At least.
I waited for an application to download today, and it took 2.5 minutes. Longest 2.5 minutes of my life. So I can't even imagine a full 4+ minutes of strangling.
So yeah, it was a long, pretty drawn out death for him. And on top of that, they did not have any coffins on standby for a man of his size. So they broke his legs to put him in.
Stop!
Oh, Yankee Jim.
And last but not least, okay, no,
no,
Allison, I'm not, listen. Thomas Whaley was in the audience that day. He watched this happen, and while watching this happen, he looked at this plot of land and was like, "That's where I'm gonna raise my family."
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, I was like, I would haunt them too.
That's a
You
nice
deserve
property
to
you
be
got there.
haunted if you choose to live there.
Wow. I agree with you guys. I feel really I feel so bad for
prime real estate.
Yeah.
That's free real estate.
I mean, yeah, I guess the land was probably pretty cheap, because people probably didn't want to buy it. He saw an opportunity there. He's like, I could get a cheap plot of land and build a nice house on it. So he did.
Jeez.
And
Honestly,
Yankee Jim
was really sad.
is buried at El Campo Santo Cemetery, which is a mere 2-minute walk from the Whaley House.
Guys,
cemetery.
we have to go and pay our respects to Yankee Jim.
Like, Yankee, man, I'm sorry.
Yo, I'm 100% down to bring that boy flowers.
I know. They did him so dirty. Like, that is so
broke
sad.
His leg?
They broke his legs to put him in the coffin. Like, a foot of leg, because
they couldn't. If I could, they didn't have the respect to build him a proper coffin. They just broke his legs. They didn't care.
Well, no, they're not gonna get the money and stuff to build a bigger coffin because he's bigger than the average man that they hang.
For stealing a boat. Oh my god. And he returned it.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
the guy who
he didn't return it. He ditched it on the shore and tried to run. But he
would want to get caught. Apparently
yeah.
I'm gonna be fucking hung and my leg's broken.
But yeah.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
that bitch too.
And this was all, just to be clear, they did all of this to Yankee Jim just to try to prove a point. Like, he was used.
Kinda, yeah. In that sense, yes. It was
so sad.
I want to bring flowers to his grave. I know he
but
did
it
some wrong,
is
but
possible he was a murderer.
I know,
but
at least
that's not proven. That's not proven, but this is proven. The motherfucker's got his legs broken, okay? It's just an article.
He deserved to have that town named after him, god damn it.
Yeah, I know, you guys were questioning it earlier. Now you understand, like, damn, Yankee Jim. They did him dirty.
I'm pro Yankee Jim now.
I always feel bad when I make jokes and then find out the whole story, and I'm like, no, I retract everything.
I know, that's what we did. No, I feel bad. We were talking a lot of stuff. We were making fun of him, and then immediately learned that he was he did bad things, but kind of a victim in this scenario, because he was used as to send a message, and then they, at every turn they didn't care about him.
But it worked, I guess. It became a nice place.
Yeah, they let him swing.
What I would
from a freaking gallows that was too short for him, and so his suffering protracted longer perhaps than it would have otherwise.
You know what's that topping?
Oh my god.
Breaking his legs. Jeez. My dude. Okay, Mel, keep going. Okay. I need no more.
All right.
I'm interested.
So about, so it's 1852 when that happened. Thomas Whaley witnessed that. He went to New York a little after, married a woman, brought her back. And I always wondered this. I was like, does she know that what happened there before she like, or did he buy the place? Was like, this is for you, darling. She's like, oh my god, I love it. And then she's like in the shop one day, and the local neighbor girl was like, I can't believe you living where the local gallows used to be. I could not do it. She's like, what? Excuse me? You know, was that the case? Did she know?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, if maybe maybe he mentioned, that I was able to get this.
I
land
got a
for
really good
pretty
deal.
cheap. I got it for real estate.
Baby won't believe it.
You won't believe the price.
Wow, Thomas, that's amazing. Why is it so cheap?
He's
Don't
like,
worry
here's
about
the kick. But anyway,
Yeah.
so 1855, he bought the property. They began building in 1856, and it was finished by 1857, and it would be the first brick building in San Diego. At least the first brick build. I couldn't really, because I know it's not the first brick building in California. That happened like 10 years earlier. That happened in San Francisco. But it's at the very least the first brick building in San Diego. Could be the first brick building built south of San Francisco.
I'm surprised it's even still up.
Yeah, it's been there a while.
Huh.
But Allison mentioned this earlier. The house is a Greek Revival 2-story with a single-story granary connected to it.
What's that? What does that mean?
It was a grain. You keep the grain there. Granary.
Granary. Yeah,
Keep
where
your
you store it.
grain.
Like
It was supposed to be,
Oh.
I guess the reason he built it brick is because it was supposed to be rat proof, and he also, the way he built his house, the style that he did was because he was from New York, and it was common because you know how he lived upstairs for the most part, and then downstairs was like where he ran his general store, and that was very common in New York. You know, people lived upstairs from their place of business, so he just wanted to bring that into San Diego.
Oh, charming.
Yeah, it didn't catch on. But yeah,
very, very unsafe.
in 1857, the couple moved into their beautiful home. And then shortly after, they suffered their first tragedy. On January 21st of 1858, Thomas Jr. was only 18 months old when he died of scarlet fever in the home.
Aw.
Little baby. So sad. And then only a few months after that, the general store was ravaged by what was believed to be another arson fire. And this,
Whoa.
when I read this is when I started thinking he was doing some insurance scam shit. I was like, so his baby dies, and a few months later, he's like, wow, we need to get out of this house. Everything's sad here. I need to move. And he's like, I'll burn my house, get some insurance, and then I'll go back to San Francisco, because that's where he goes after that.
Huh.
Yeah, the house they moved to San Francisco in
So
1858.
they vacate the house.
Or 59. Yeah, they leave. They leave for almost 10 years. Like
Wait,
eight
so
and a half
they only lived in
years.
the house for like 2 years
No,
before they
no,
left?
they come back later. Let me come back. They moved to San Francisco for a little while. So, baby dies. There's a fire. They relocate to San Francisco. While they're there, they have their other 3 children. George Whaley, who was born November 5th of 1860 in San Francisco in the Bay Area. Their daughter, Corinne Lillian Whaley, who was born September 4th of 1864 in San Francisco. And their last child, Violet Whaley, who was born October 14th of 1862. Also, so there's a little, like, for like a brief period of time while he was there and living in San Francisco, he also went to Alaska for like 2 years for
Whoa.
work. I don't think he brought the family. I think it was just him. But yeah, that little tidbit, he went there for a little bit.
Do we know what he was doing there?
No, I don't know what he was. Like I said, it's hard to find information about what they were doing outside of San Diego because it's not really the focus of like the lore. It's mostly like the house in general,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So,
Oh, it's interesting.
but he also, he ran a U.S. commissionary store, which I guess started in like 1825, and essentially it just provided food and provisionaries to like U.S. soldiers. It was like a military ran program thing.
Okay.
It's still going on today. There's still stores. Yeah,
Okay, so the family lived in San Francisco for, you said, 10 years?
almost 10 years, about 8.5.
Okay, and then and that's when they moved back to San Diego? So why did they move back?
You about to hear about why they moved back, okay?
Yeah, I'm so curious.
One day on October 21st of 1868. There was the Hayward earthquake. It had the magnitude of between 6.3 and 6.8. And now you remember, these are New Yorkers. They have quite possibly never experienced an earthquake before. This probably terrified the living shit out of them. And it makes sense why they would move back to San Diego, thinking it would be safer there than in the Bay Area after a fat earthquake like that.
I mean, I love California. Love California. I'll probably never move out. But even a 3.0 scares the fuck out of me.
Like,
I
I'm
hate
like,
earthquakes. I'm with you.
at this
Yeah, I
point,
hate
they haven't
earthquakes.
been living there for very long. Like, maybe they experienced like a small one, but it is a good likelihood that they've never really even noticed an earthquake before.
Yeah, and then you go straight to
And
like,
then you
almost
go
a
to something like
7-pointer.
that. Yeah.
And it's like Sodom and Gomorrah.
You guys, what's the biggest earthquake we've ever experienced?
Yeah, it's not a
Oh.
6.0, that's for sure.
It was never like a magnitude over 5, right?
No, yeah, it's only
I want
like
to say
Like 6,
Maybe-
5.5, maybe.
at the most.
no,
maybe
less,
less.
maybe
like
4.
Yeah, I don't think we've
No,
experienced
we
that
never-
crazy
we
of an
never
earthquake.
experienced- Remember that one when mom like was yelling, "Get under the table!"
Which
And we
one?
all, like, when we
That's
were, like,
every
little-
earthquake.
I know. Every
Don't you
time the
think
house
that-
shakes, mom's like, run!
That was probably a higher earthquake, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, we have had a couple of,
So
but
probably,
not,
like, 5 is
but
the ones
still
that-
nothing like a 6.8.
Yeah, okay, we've witnessed like
No,
5, and
Nothing.
that's it.
Nothing
At
like
the
that.
most. And I
Yeah.
am even doubtful of that.
Oh, really? Oh my god, I don't want anything higher than that thing. 'Cause that's I mean, I'd be with them. I'd be moving out too.
Yeah,
And I'm
exactly.
gone.
Like at first it makes complete sense why they would like leave. I'm like, yeah, I would move back too if they they maybe never experienced one in San Diego. They're like, it's safe down there. Little do they know, all of California is shaken.
Yeah, that's why I was confused when they made a brick house and how it still like survived this long. You can't have brick houses in California, especially on the fault line in San Diego. Like that's crazy.
It's doing. I mean, it's
surprised it
survived
lasted.
a couple fires. It's doing pretty well.
Oh,
like
it's
a
haunted.
party
Now
house.
we know why it's haunted.
Oh
Never mind.
yeah, is that why?
Supernatural things. Supernatural's keeping this house together at this point.
That's what's confirmed that it is ghosts. It's because
Yeah.
it's still standing.
They said we're gonna keep haunting this place, my only home.
So they'd moved back that same year of 1868. So like they get down there quick. They're like, we're hopping on a boat. We're getting out of here, back to San Diego. Because this happened in October. They're back by the end of the year.
Whoa, that's a little quick.
Yeah, they are out of there. Okay, so
That's a big nope.
yeah, they were fucking Nope City right there.
They just packed up everything and said, "Get the fuck out!
Yeah.
Get on the boat! Get Anna! Get on the boat!
So I don't know.
Violet Francis, everyone get out.
Get on the boat!"
So I don't know if I mean, this would be so quick if they were back already by the time this deal was made. So I don't know, because on November 1st of that same year, Thomas Whaley made a deal with the Tanner Troupe Theater to rent out the top space of the house for them to be able to do shows. Now, they rented this. Tanner, what was his name? I have it here. Okay, so in order to do this, they removed 12 feet of studding to make the top room more larger for people to come in. They added a stairway in the backyard into the balcony to get up into that area, so people don't have to go traveling through the house.
Mm-hmm.
So they did some renovations on it to like get this like thing going. So it was pretty big. They were the first. It would be the first theater in San Diego because they opened it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So first brick house
upstairs of the
hosted.
house?
Yeah, it was upstairs, the large bedroom and the upstairs.
What the hell? How big is this house?
Pretty large. It's
A
2 stories.
theater?
multiple bedrooms. I mean, it's not super massive.
No, it wasn't a
but-
large theater. They just had a small and they could. I guess they wanted to fit up to 150 people inside the room if they could. But on their advertisements, they told like women to wear not to wear any petticoats and no hoop skirts to allow extra room.
Huh?
That's a fun detail.
Yeah, they were like, "Yo, we don't have space. Like, do this."
Wear
So
your small
wearing
skirts.
Don't
The-
be wearing that poofy skirt.
the
Yeah.
leader of the troupe, Thomas Tanner, He died 17 days after he made that deal to rent that part.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Do we know
so
how he died?
he was an older guy in his 50s. You know, he was just
Wait,
died.
who died? Which one?
Thomas Tanner, the guy who ran the Tanner Troop Theater. So right
Okay.
after, and he died. So people think he haunts the house because he died
So
like
many Thomases.
his
I just had to
dream.
think
There's so many Thomases.
Yeah, I was like Thomas. Which Thomas? Thomas the 12th? Like I'm not sure. Okay, him. Got it. Wow.
Okay. So, but the show go on?
Yeah, the show went on. They did do shows afterward. They're like someone actually literally said the show must go on.
Oh God,
But
adorable.
they paid for they rented it using $20 in gold coins for the use of their upstairs room and the corral. Fun fact.
I don't know the equivalence of that time, but that's cheap.
It was a lot. You'll learn. Okay, so later
is it?
there's the upstairs room. They were also used for meeting rooms for the board of supervisors and the council record storage. This is after the theater moved out. The theater moved out to make room for the council records. But for a while, the granary became the San Diego courthouse for about like 2 years. And the county rented the space that they were for $65 a month, which is a little over $2,000 in today's equivalents.
Okay.
So he was making a pretty good amount of money off of renting this area to the county.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good passive income.
Yeah. But then later in courthouse was moved to the new town, that's now known as the gas lamp quarter.
Oh yeah, I go to that. Is that courthouse has been there that long?
It's been there a while, yeah. It's an old
Dang, I
courthouse.
pass by there all the time to go to the salon. That's crazy.
So I mean, but the family seems to be doing pretty well. But they were So here's something. Here's a fun tidbit. I'll give you extra information after I read it. So on March 31st of 1871, a group of armed men held Anna Whaley at gunpoint and forcibly removed the council records from the house while Thomas Whaley was away on a business trip. Okay.
Oh no.
So yeah, so I read that and I was so confused because at first it didn't tell me about the council records and stuff. It just told me that Anna Whaley was held at gunpoint for some reason. I was like, why? Who did this and why? Apparently,
Anna.
so there was like this big battle going on, like court-wise, when it like the Newtowners, people who lived in Newtown, the up and coming new place to be, wanted the county offices and the records to be moved to Newtown. They're like, this is where it belongs. But the people in Old Town were like, no, we want it to stay here. Don't touch our stuff. And the issue dominated the local elections. The Republicans favored Newtown. The Democrats favored Old Town. And there were conflicting court orders at the time. At one point, they removed the local sheriff because they were like, this guy was doing what we want, and like they replaced some board members because of this. Eventually those old members came back, and then they ordered that someone goes in and they seize the records. So they did.
Oh my god.
They seized the records
At gunpoint?
at gunpoint. Well, I guess the Newtowners were threatening to show force back, so they showed up with guns and stuff. And I guess there was some damage done to the Whaley House that Thomas Whaley was never paid back for, despite trying.
Yes. Oh my gosh, poor Anna caught in the middle of that. That's terrible.
Yeah, pretty bad. At this time, it's like what
She's like swatted.
1871. She has like she's like a bunch of little kids running around. Like her kids are probably like all under, a couple mostly under 10.
That
It has
alone would
nothing
be
to, first of all, it has nothing to do with me. I rent that space. Like, please don't.
right.
Well, I
Yeah,
guess Thomas Whaley. I thought this was an interesting because I keep hearing the people like refer to the Whaley House as like Thomas's baby. They're like, oh my, he loved it. It was fantastic. That's why he, But apparently he offered to just sell it to the county. He was like, just take it. But the county was like, no, we don't want it. But so I don't see it being like this like thing that he cared that much about. It seemed like it was just a place. He was like, yeah, if you want, you can buy it.
I mean, he moved out like right after his child. I wouldn't have any probably sentiment towards it.
Yeah, like he has already had one kid die in it. At this he was like, yeah, he was offering to sell it, but they were like, no. So 10 years later, now on January 5th of 1882, Violet Whaley and her sister Anna Whaley have a joint marriage with, they both like get married to, like, they married individual guys, and on the same day in the house. Happy day.
Okay.
Anna marries her
Anna Jr., right? The
yeah,
daughter,
Anna
yeah.
Amelia Whaley, not Anna Eloise Whaley.
Yeah.
Anna marries her first cousin, John T. Whaley.
Stop. Her first cousin.
First cousin, yeah. You know,
That
it's
wasn't
it's the
uncommon at one
times. Yeah,
point.
it's the times. He was just he was just her brother's friend, and they really hit it off. They were happy together. So they had a
And
long,
your cousin.
and your cousin. But Violet Whaley married George, I've struggled to pronounce his name, Bertolozzi, and he was apparently a con artist. And after only 2 weeks of them being married, Anna woke up one day and he was gone. He had left her because he had expected to get a dowry from her because her family was well off, but I guess that didn't happen and he had left.
Oh my god.
So yeah. And then let's see, honeymoon. Following the divorce, Violet was very depressed. She it took about a year to finalize the divorce, but at that time, unfortunately, women and people, divorcees were generally chastised by society. They're like, oh my God, you're divorced, even though she was
So
like, it's
messed
not
up.
my fault. He left me, but people didn't want to hear friends all like stop talking to her. She was chastised. No one wanted to talk to her. She was having a hard time. And apparently she's, I guess she was described as always suffering from melancholy. So on top of already having some her own personal emotional issues, this happened and then she got chastised. A lot of problems. So we do know that she did end up killing herself, but did you know that she tried a few weeks before unsuccessfully?
No,
Yeah.
I don't know that.
I didn't know that.
So there was this thing in the back of the house called a cistern, and it holds water. It's a water storage, and it's pretty large. And I guess there's a news snippet from a newspaper at the time. It's from what Thomas Whaley had told the newspaper. I assume he said this after she had died, maybe like in retrospect, like, oh, or maybe because of the commotion that it caused because they lived in a small town. They just asked like what happened. But
Yeah.
so this is Thomas Whaley's quote. On July 5th of 1885, I was harnessing my horse and heard a scream issuing from the cistern. Went there and found Violet holding to the pipe. Asked if she could hold on. She said yes. I ran to the house and told my wife. Violet just jumped into the cistern.
Anna, go get her.
Yeah, and so they get her out of the cistern. I don't think at the time, I think that they assumed that maybe she had fallen in or something and that they didn't see it as being a suicide attempt, right? But a few weeks later, so on August 18th of 1885, at the age of 22, Violet took her father's .22 caliber revolver and went into the backyard privy and shot herself in the chest, where she yeah, it's very sad. So it's terrible. Her father, presumably hearing the gunshot, went out there and he found her and brought her into the house parlor, where she later died in his arms. She left a suicide note mentioning about her chest being disgraced by her friends and stuff, being sad about that.
Oh my God.
And she quoted a poem called The Bridges of Sighs by Thomas Hood, another Thomas. And the part that she quoted was mad from life's history, glad to death's mystery, swift to be hurled anywhere out of this world.
Jeez, that poor girl. I feel so bad.
Yeah, it's really sad. Yeah, it's terrible. So yeah, after that, shortly after, the family moved out of the house and they relocated to Newtown. And the house was left vacant and in disrepair for almost 20 years. Thomas Whaley later died on December 14th of 1890 in their new Newtown area. And the house was left alone until 1909, when Francis Whaley finally came back with a boom in tourism in the area and began repairing the house. While he did so, he would play his guitar and talk about his family history and how the house itself had a historical importance. Later on, his mother, Anna, and his remaining siblings, Corrine, Francis, and George, all joined him in the house, where they would all reportedly die. I'm not sure about Corrine Whaley because I heard that I read also that she died in a nursing home because I guess she had dementia and stuff at the end, and she had hurt herself at like the Whaley house.
Yeah, so she may have been taken out and like died.
Yeah, because I
at
guess
the
they
end
were
of
like,
her life.
this house is not suit for someone of her age, and she needs to go somewhere else or something.
House is not suit for anybody.
So I don't know the exact day that Anna Whaley died, but she died in the year of 1913 at approximately the age of about 81.
Okay.
Corrine died in September 14th of 1953. She's pretty old, man. 1953? It's almost 100.
Wow, you're right.
Yeah, Francis died on November 14th in 1914, excuse me. November 14th, 1914, in San Diego, California. I think at the Whaley House. I couldn't find exactly where he died, but the funeral was definitely held at the Whaley House for him. And then brother George died January 5th, 1928 in the Whaley House. Their sister Anna Whaley, like they're all buried, the whole family's buried at Mount Hope Cemetery except for Anna Amelia Whaley, who is buried at Modesto Citizen Cemetery with her husband and her like line of the Whaley family.
That makes sense.
And then in 1960, that is when the house finally officially became part of the Old Town San Diego Historical Park and opened as a museum. And that is pretty much the end of the overall history to today. Currently a museum.
That's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going back
Good job,
there.
Madeline.
Yeah, thank you for all of
Holy
the research
crap.
you did.
That was a roller coaster.
Yeah, especially with Yankee Jim, man.
Oh, Yankee Jim.
Like you at first you're like, ooh, he's a murderer, but then you're like, shit, man, they did him dirty.
Yeah. Wow, this family went through so much. Like it's like they almost never had a moment of peace.
They really, I know. They made a couple years in San Francisco. It seemed they were doing fine until the earthquake that shook them to their core.
They went to San Diego and then got caught up in local community drama with the court records and tragedy after tragedy.
Yeah.
Apparently burned businesses after burnt businesses.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. Yeah. They had some issues going in and out.
Damn, Yankee. I still feel bad for
Yeah.
that
And
guy.
then, I mean, who knows how many people were hung on the property? Like, we could only really, we can only really find about like Yankee Jim because he's the most famous, but it was known as the town gallows. So who knows how many people died there?
Yeah, that's a great point. There's a lot that we don't know, but thank you so much for all the research you did there. It was incredible.
Claps and snaps.
Claps for Maddie. All right, now that we've gotten that fantastic and thorough overview of the historical element of the Whaley House, I think it's time to dive a little bit into the more arcane and supernatural aspect of the Whaley House.
Yeah, I actually have. Yeah, it's the Whaley House is said to be the most haunted house in California. The U.S. Department of Commerce has listed it as an authentic haunted house.
Wait,
that
the
was interesting.
Department of Commerce?
Yeah.
What? Listed it as they have a listings of the official haunted houses?
Yeah, that's what it says. The U.S. Department of Commerce has listed the Whaley House as an authentic haunted house.
What? I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't know we had lists for that.
We have an official list.
I guess we'll look that up now. Now we know.
Now we know. I'm going to look up the rest of that. That's fascinating. Go on.
All right, so I don't have a whole lot I don't have as much as Malin. Mine won't take as long. But this is what people have seen. So over the years, many descendants of the Whaley House lived and died in the house, including Thomas, Anna, and their children, Lillian, Thomas, Violet, and Francis, all died. During his restoration periods, which took place several different times throughout the house's history, workers and visitors began to notice strange and mysterious sounds, sights, aromas, and encounters. The first and most well-known ghost that lingers within this house and on the grounds was that of Yankee Jim Robinson.
It's coming back.
Coming back to you, Yankee.
As he had died right on the spot where the home was built. Baby Thomas, who'd been the first in the family to pass away, had always stayed close by. As reported by many who have visited the home, could hear tiny footsteps and sounds of him crying. That's so sad. I'm honestly like that's creepy. Even giggling when no one is in sight. I don't like that.
You don't like the
we don't
sound
like-
of ghostly baby giggles?
Yeah, we don't want no ghost babies.
Yeah, please pass on peacefully. What did that baby have to hold on to? Just go, like, I don't know.
It died of
That
scarlet
gives me
fever.
chills.
I don't know. Sounds pretty
It
awful.
gives me chills. He doesn't even know what that is. He's 18 months old. Other reports seen a young woman lingering on the second floor of the house, believed to be poor Violet, still consumed with sorrow. She seems to stay close to the second floor, where she spent much of her time after her divorce before she committed suicide. It is said that the area within the home becomes quiet and cold, and their presence is felt throughout. Thomas, Anna, and several other spirits have also been felt within the home, on the stairwells, and on property. Many have seen Thomas dressed in his frock, coat, and top hat, standing on the top of the stairs. I'll tell you right now, if I see anybody at the top of any stairs, I'm running. I don't even care if it's you guys. You're like, no, it's me. I'm gone.
Just wait. does it have to
Any
be a ghost?
shadowy
Yeah,
like
well,
figure
yeah,
on a
yeah.
stair.
I hear
just
a noise.
just casually, I'm just like, hey Al, you would start screaming.
Yeah. I'm gone. Pooh.
Okay, people on stairs,
Awesome.
Allison's pet peeve. We've learned.
I'd hate it. Others say that they could smell the aroma of French perfume, Anna's signature scent. No
that
one
French
has
connection
lived-
coming
French
back.
as
Yeah,
fuck.
just say French
French
perfume.
as fuck, yeah.
Oui, oui.
Although no one has lived in the house since 1953, the spirits of the dead are still there, waiting for visitors. Workers on site and guests who have toured the house tell accounts of many unusual and spooky encounters. Some say that they've seen figures looking out the stairway window long after the house has closed for the day. Others have seen curtains moving even though the windows in the home have all been sealed shut. The sounds of children running up and down the stairs can be heard without anyone being seen. Footsteps, cold spots, and the appearance and disappearances of shadows have all been seen, felt, and heard by the guests. All the information I found can be found on ghostsandgravestones.com.
All right.
That is it.
That's all you can find for the haunt. That is the most haunted house in America. That is it.
Yeah.
Like that is what
Yeah.
they decide to declare as the most haunted house. Like that's some bitch
Not America,
haunting.
California. No, yeah, California, apparently. Most haunted house in California.
I still feel like there has to be something more haunted. I like even while I was researching this, I was like, you know, comparatively, they only really lost one kid in adolescence, which for the time that's pretty good.
Yeah, but
You
then
know what's-
Violet shot herself.
Yeah,
in
then
the
Violet
chest,
had to go
so-
and shoot herself, man. But
mean, to be
before
honest-
then they were doing fine.
Before hearing your story of like their lives and stuff, I thought like everybody was murdered in
You
this
thought it was
place. or
chainsaw
something,
massacre
like-
in the
Yeah,
Whaley
no,
House.
a majority of
I
them
thought it was
died of old age.
Chainsaw massacre. I thought it.
The ghost of Yankee Jim massacring everybody.
Oh, I was like, I expected a lot more for it to be the most haunted house
Me
in
too.
California.
Yeah.
But that's the report. That's what I found, and I mean, that's all people talk about are the noises, the shadows, footsteps, window curtains opening and closing, things like that.
Overall, pretty benign. Yeah, I get what you're
Yeah.
saying.
No 10-foot owl clawing at my scalp.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, it doesn't seem very haunted at all. I mean, maybe, I've never been there, but based on the research, I'm like, this is. I mean, I heard that the Whaley had like this tragic life. I'm like, that's not like the. I feel like, I mean, Thomas Whaley, he had 10 siblings, and at least 4 of them died in childhood.
Oh wow, really?
Something like that. Like most of them, you can't even find information on. If I found a grave, it just says child of Thomas Whaley for his dad. So it's like they weren't even alive long enough to get a name. Like that's pretty
Oh my god.
tragic. Like to have only one child die in childhood like that, that's at that time, that's pretty good. Doing fine.
The most scariest thing that happened to them was that earthquake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's interesting to consider why is the Whaley House how did it get such a reputation?
I mean, I feel like things that would haunt it, the most likely things to haunt it would be the people who were hung there, maybe.
I would
That
think, yeah,
and I
that's
think the
more
most
tragic than what happened
And
to the Whaley
Violet,
House,
that
right?
would make sense.
Yeah,
But
yeah, Violet.
like Thomas
I
Whaley,
think
the father didn't even die there. So I'm like, why is he haunting there? He didn't really care much for the house, apparently, because he was just willing to sell it. Because people were like, oh, he went back there because he had such a good connection to it. I'm like, yeah, well, based on what I've read, he didn't give a fuck. He was willing to just sell
I
that
think
shit and move on.
the most interesting thing was the court hearing thing.
About how that
Other
all
than
went down.
Yankee, yeah, how that all went down, that was so interesting to me. How
Yeah,
like people
apparently it was like
re-
years
like
of not back and forth.
boycotting and like they went gun blazing at poor Anna to get these like records. Like, honey, calm down. You will get them. I promise. Don't
You
hold
don't
a
have
gun
to
to me and my
hold up a
children,
woman
jeez.
and her children.
Yeah, I'm like,
That's
Yeah, that seems
crazy.
extreme.
I was confused because I was like, I couldn't find if like the Whaleys themselves were protesting the movement of the records. I suppose they were making decent money from the
It sounds
county
like they were just
keeping them there,
yeah.
but it didn't say specifically that they were protesting. It just said that there was a lot of council stuff going on. A lot of the town people in general on both sides wanted it to be where that wanted the hub of town to be where they were essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so regarding the hauntings, going back to that a bit, I'm wondering if this came out in your research, but one of the stories that I came across was um, the fact that apparently Thomas Whaley was the first person to see any kind of paranormal sighting in the
Yeah,
house. He
I did.
supposedly saw, if I could, he supposedly heard heavy footsteps in his house
Ooh.
and concluded himself that it must be Yankee Jim because he was known for being a very large person and he apparently witnessed him himself die on that spot.
Yeah, that was probably the most interesting thing that I found was the fact that they reported hauntings even back then, but they seem relatively benign these days, I guess. Maybe when you live there all the time, it's more prevalent, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem that haunted.
Maybe. But yeah, supposedly Thomas Whaley himself saw or heard Yankee Jim roaming around, or he assumed
They
it was Yankee
joked.
Jim,
Yeah, the
but he
family
heard,
was like, "Oh, it's just Yankee Jim, guys. That
oh, it's
guy
just
I
Yankee
watched
Jim.
swing around like a pendulum when I considered buying this property. That guy, yeah. It's him.
Oh, that's silly Yankee Jim.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I heard this might be another apocryphal tale, but I did see somewhere that Anna apparently is known to have believed that the house she lived in was haunted.
That like the house
Um,
itself was haunted or as a child.
no, that the house itself that she lived in, the Whaley house, she
Yeah.
believed it was haunted, and later in life blamed the hauntings there for some of the misfortunes that happened in her life. Don't know how true that is, but that's
That's
one
a
of the
bit
apocryphal tales that's also
extreme.
going around.
I feel like they had to like I heard okay, here's a story like it's like what Joel said apocryphal. I can't say the word tale.
Apocryphal.
Apocryphal tale. Where I heard that apparently like a little neighbor girl, she was I guess running around nearby and she got straight up clotheslined and it wrapped around her neck, suffocating. Some guy found her and they got her off around her neck, but by then she was already having a real hard time. They brought her apparently into the Whaley's kitchen and where she died on their kitchen table. I only found one story of that, so I was like, I don't know if that's true or if
I
it's
I, I did
just
he- I did read that there was apparently a young neighbor girl or some sort of like friendly or family friend that died, and that's what people attribute to the little girl ghost that some people have reported seeing. But yeah, I don't know many details about how she died and
Yeah,
why
so
she would
maybe it
stay at
is
the Whaley
true.
House.
Maybe that happened.
Maybe. Hmm.
So it's
Did you guys
just
know that the Whaley House was mentioned in 2007 animated movie Hellboy?
I saw
How
that on
interesting.
Wikipedia.
Whoa, how crazy. Blood and Iron.
You're just talking about a Hellboy comic?
Sorry, I'm trying to research how many people have been hung there as you talk, and it's like I can't find
no,
anything.
you're not gonna. I mean, it's early San Diego, you know. Like there's probably we're just getting started when
They were moving
Yankee
records around all the
Jim,
time. They were
yeah,
holding ladies at gunpoint.
Oh jeez. Old San Diego, new San Diego,
I
gun
mean,
wars.
when
Like,
they're holding people at
jeez.
gunpoint, that old town San Diego was pretty nice. That was when it was a nicer place to live.
Oh,
Before, apparently, there
apparently.
was like feces and urine on the streets and dead animal carcasses and trash everywhere and a lot of crime
Holy cow.
because it was a new
Literally.
minor town, essentially. You know, and I felt if
Because
like
of
I feel
that.
like if there was anyone to be located there, it would be the people who were hung rather than the Whaleys. Maybe
Damn Yankee Jim.
maybe
Where are you hearing?
Violet because she did kill herself. She had a lot of sorrow there, a lot of hung up
Negative.
emotion there at that
Yeah.
house for her
Hung up.
particularly.
Hung up emotions. Good
Like
one.
Yankee Jim.
Like Yankee Jim.
Like Yankee
Too
Jim.
soon.
Not
Too soon.
really. It's been
I
almost
just learned about it
200
too soon.
years.
I brought up earlier that Anna is known to have apparently believed in cursed property and to have come to the conclusion that the reason why she suffered a misfortune in her life is because she came into contact with cursed property, that like her living there may have attached something to her, and that was apparently a fear she had. And I think that raises questions about, what even is a curse? How do they work? Is it potentially responsible for
Well, there were a lot of people burning down Thomas Whaley's places of employment, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, is it just does it manifest in what we call bad luck?
You know, so you're talking about cursed lands. I feel like with that information, maybe I should bring this information up.
Ooh, what you got, Maddie?
It's kind of vague. I have it like saved as one of my links. I just don't remember which one it was. I'm gonna go to the Soho because that would probably. But basically, so there was a this is a very bullshit story. You know, it's
I'm ready.
Lay it on me.
Yeah.
We're ready.
Yeah.
So there was a Native American tribe. This is not the article, but there's not so I can't remember the chief's name exactly, but he sent his son to go pay some taxes to the local the local county, right? Because they were being forced to pay taxes, right, for the land. And he didn't have the full amount. He was like, "Oh, here, well, we have half. Go take them half and talk to them, see what we can work out." And this guy was like, the guy at the time who was later find out he was kind of corrupt. I think this guy was a dickhead. The chief they were like, "Yo, we're not taking your money," and the chief was like, "This is unfair." So he went and talked to some other chiefs, and the other chiefs were like, "Yeah, this is some bullshit." So they all got together and they're like, "Let's fuck them up." But they lost that battle, and the chief of the first group was shot by firing squad as penalty for this situation, and Thomas Whaley was among the firing squad.
Yet again, witnessing an
the-
execution.
Yeah, he was in the firing squad.
Wait, he
What?
shot him himself?
Well, I don't, they have like a line of like 6 people, and rather whichever one actually hit the person, that's kind of why they do that. So maybe you don't know who's actually, if you actually did it or something.
So he participated in a firing squad.
Yeah, I think it was.
Why is this man witnessing so many murders?
It's the 1850s
Holy
in the
shit.
fucking West.
Who wasn't part of
I know
a firing
who wasn't
squad
being
in
murdered
California in the 1950s?
back then. I mean, shit.
Gee, my God. Okay, that's kind of weird. Anybody else think that's weird? I think that's weird.
That would be
Why?
weird in what way?
Why was okay? First of all, why was he just staring and watching freaking young Yankee Doodle, Johnson,
Well,
Robinson,
Allison, I know
Ray
you're in the
Cushing
wrong
here?
mindset.
Public
This
execution.
is, yeah, it's the 1850s. You have nothing to do.
So
Public
you just watch
execute.
a man get
Yes,
hung,
that's what people
Yeah.
did. That was
and you
entertainment.
said, you
They
know what?
had nothing else.
I'm still really bored. I'm gonna go shoot this guy.
Well, no, see,
Like what?
it was kind of a part of like like we have jury duty. You have
Stop!
firing squad duty.
Stop!
You know, it's just how they like. It was his civil duty to join because he hadn't helped the town out in a while, so they just picked this guy out, like the guy,
Oh,
like Mr. Gustav Fischer, who had a wagon and a burro and was able to lead fucking Jim Robinson to his death. That's just what it was. It was this local guy. Like you are being brought in for this because we don't have
Yeah,
someone.
you skip out on jury duty for a while, and then they'll put you on the firing squad list.
Basically,
holy
Hold,
cow!
to hold that rifle.
I don't. Or
you get-
people necessarily going around like,
Bruh.
yeah, I'll join the firing squad. They're like, you need to do your civic duty.
Holy cow, that is insane. I mean, thank you. I'm learning so much, but holy crap, that's insane. No.
Yeah, so I'm personally really interested in exploring more the idea of, like, I guess curses, like cursed property, because that came up a lot when I was trying to learn more about like the Whaley House generally. Instead of just focusing on the individual spirits and them actively causing things, like there's this idea that there's things external even to the people who died there that is affecting the location generally. And if maybe it is location based, maybe it's not, but I thought that was an interesting topic to broach.
I mean, I believe in curses.
Well,
Cool, let's do it. Let's explore that.
Let's not curse.
Jeez.
What do you guys, how would you guys describe a curse in your own words? What do you think of?
See, the thing is I've watched Jujutsu Kaisen.
I knew that's where you're going.
Going Stenkai. Other than like fictitious means is the only way I know it. Other than that, it would be the Post Malone situation where he touched that like cursed object and then he literally almost got in a plane crash the next day or something like that. It was crazy. Like that's the only. And then the Annabelle doll and that like whole like what that whole like downstairs closet full of absolute crap that those people have, just full of haunted treasures.
The
Never in my life
Warrens.
would I go. I would never go there. If you guys ever wanted to go there, I'm telling you, I would never go.
It's so far away. I don't think we're going anyway.
I definitely believe like that's a thing, that objects can hold such negativity and negative energy for it to become something greater than what it once was, or something more than it once was. I hate it. I will say that. I don't like any of it. But yeah, I mean that's the only reference I have for it. That's
What
all
about
it
you,
is. Like
Madeline?
energy is so true, and energy is so true to itself. I believe in energy and putting energy out there, and negative energy is definitely a thing.
Okay,
Madeline.
that's interesting. Maddie, what do you think about a curse?
I mean, I guess it would be similar to the way Allison described it. Because it's like, do you think someone can like actually like curse you? Like, do you believe in that type of cursing, where a person can be like what like witchcraft, like curse, or do you think it's more of like energy based, like in a centralized location that creates?
I don't even think it has to be a centralized location. I think it's just the energy put out there.
But you
mean,
said you do think it attaches itself to things. Yeah.
Yeah. Which could be okay. You're right. Could be a location. I'm not saying it's like energy or like
the idea of like
based.
tainted ground. The idea of like a tainted ground.
Yeah.
A
Cemeteries.
gallows.
Yeah, gallows.
Where the gallows used to be tainted.
A box touched by Posty. Like
I mean, if you think
whatever the hell Zach Bagans keeps in his basement.
And given Thomas Whaley lived in San Diego for like at least 3 years before he moved and married and came back, built a house. So like, who knows how many of those executions he personally witnessed and like watched, and then still decided to build a house on top. That might make some pissy energy people, already a little bit more pissy. Like, didn't that guy watch me die? You son of a bitch.
Yeah, or maybe it doesn't have to be that personal. Maybe it is just that place, and it could have been anybody, like anybody, be like living there for too long, getting affected by
Just the
that
overwhelming
place.
negativity that
Yeah,
happened
and
there.
it kind of rubbing off on you over time.
Yeah, because you talk about how people like they get more angry and stuff when they're around negative energy.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm
I
glad
just-
you bring that up because I think about last week when we had this discussion and you brought up that neighbor house where you said multiple families live there. And
They
for
moved in
some
and out all the
reason-
time.
And for some reason, they all ended up being really violent, and you would hear them yelling at each other, multiple groups. Maybe it's not necessarily the person so much as it is the place, like the accumulation of negativity, all the people that affect a place coming together and affecting the living.
The whole Post Malone thing, I have more on that. So apparently,
We're not here to
after
talk about
touching
Post
the box.
Malone.
Oh, but listen. So we're talking about cursed things and cursed objects. So the box that he touched afterwards, not only did his plane tires explode right after takeoff, but a few days later, armed robbers broke into his house. Not too long, a few weeks after that, he was T-boned in his rose after he apparently touched that box. Oh, that gives me the chills.
No, I
Jeez.
think that's really interesting, honestly, the idea of like curses, because it was something I was trying to wrap my head around a little bit more. Because we do it's something that we kind of colloquially still kind of have in our vocabulary. You know, the idea that, you know, maybe you should avoid certain places, maybe you shouldn't touch certain things because you don't know how it's going to affect you. I think maybe that could be potentially the Whaley House.
But it's not that
Oh.
haunted. I don't know.
No, that's my point though. Like it's not about like I don't think it's really about the individual.
Maybe we have. Do
entities in this
people
theory.
generally experience like negative emotions or anything like that while they're there, or is it more just like I smell something? I smell a French bitch. Like
It's all the above. Depends
yeah.
on the person.
Well, see, when you get there, Mal, you tell us what you feel. Our medium.
What are you smelling?
Yeah.
I smell the French.
I smell what the rock is cooking.
What?
I smell French as fuck.
That's what I
Is that what Val
smell.
said earlier?
Yeah, that's what she was, I guess. Super French. Why does that light keep flickering? I'm being haunted already.
Maybe it is.
Oh.
You're talking about curses for too long.
Is she alone?
Yeah,
Are you
Alan
alone
went
in
to
the
the
house?
Alan,
gym.
if
It's
we see
good.
anything in your cam behind you, we'll let you know.
Okay, good.
I'll
Austin will
If I start
scream. We'll be
screaming-
sure.
yeah. Turn around.
If she starts screaming, just leave. Don't turn around. Just go.
This conversation's giving Melon a lot of negative
mean-
energy. I like it. I like the idea. I believe in energy. You know me. I believe in energy real hardcore. So
Well, I think the biggest takeaway I'm getting from the story is that Yankee Jim was
Yeah.
wronged.
Yeah, very much
yeah,
wrong.
for real. My next tattoo is Yankee Jim.
Justice for Yankee Jim.
Justice for Yankee.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This has been an episode of Girls vs. Ghouls. Follow us on Instagram at Girls vs. Ghouls, and we'll see you next week. Stay spooky.
Goodbye.
Girls
Versus
Ghouls.